Sign the papers or I will make sure this shop is gone before sunset, Daniel Hayes said. The vase hit the floor before Mia Lawson could answer. Glass burst across the floor of willow and bloom. Water spread under Daniel's shoes. White roses lay crushed. Mia stood behind the counter. She was 27, beautiful with long dark hair and calm eyes. She did not step back. She did not cry. She only said, "Then you will have to destroy it while I watch." Daniel was 29, tall, well-built, short-haired, and sharp-looking. In Nashville real estate, he was called fearless. But he didn't know how to lose. Hayes Landing was supposed to be his masterpiece. A luxury district by the Cumberland River, every property on the block was bought, every owner signed, except Mia. Her flower shop sat on the corner like a memory refusing to move, with blue door and a photo of Mia beside Clara Lawson. Clara had opened Willow and Bloom 40 years earlier and raised Mia after her parents died. To Daniel, it was old brick. To Mia, it was home. Daniel sent 3 offers. Mia refused each one. "The shop is not for sale." So Daniel came himself. He placed the contract down. Daniel said, "Name your price." Mia pushed it back. Mia said, "I already gave my answer." Daniel said, "This neighborhood is changing. I am offering you a future." Mia touched the photo. Mia said, "This is my future and my past." Daniel said, "Memories do not stop progress." Mia answered, "Then progress should learn where not to step." That was when his control broke. His arm swept across the counter. A pot crashed, then a vase. Then lilies in glass jars. Water splashed over Mia's shoes. Soil spread. Petals fell. When he stopped, the shop looked as if a storm had walked through it. Mia stood very still. Then she knelt and picked up one broken flower, then another, handling them gently, as if ruined things deserved dignity. Daniel left before her silence could follow him, but it followed him. 3 hours later, he stood in St. Thomas Medical Center. His mother, Ruth Hayes, slept on the 6th floor. Ruth was 63, gentle, proud, and the only person who made Daniel feel like a son. 2 months earlier, doctors said she needed a rare donor match or she might not survive. Daniel called specialists and paid for tests. No one matched. Then one afternoon, the hospital called. A donor had appeared, anonymous, perfect match. No money, no public thanks, only one condition: the family could never know the donor. Daniel tried to find out, but the answer stayed sealed. That evening, a nurse updated Ruth's chart and placed a folder down. Then she stepped out. The folder slipped open. Daniel saw a photo clipped to a donor form. His breath stopped. It was Mia Lawson. Same calm eyes, same long dark hair, same woman who had knelt in the shop picking roses from dirty water. When Nurse Williams returned, Daniel held the page. Daniel said, "Tell me this is not what I think it is." Nurse Williams said, "Mr. Hayes, that file should not have been open." Daniel whispered, "She saved my mother." Nurse Williams said, "She came to deliver flowers, heard we were screening volunteers, and asked to be tested." Daniel stared at the photograph. Nurse Williams said, "The odds were tiny, but she matched and agreed immediately." Daniel said, "Why?" Nurse Williams answered, "She said someone needed to live. That was enough." The words settled, then they crushed him. Daniel looked at his sleeping mother. Then he saw Mia again, silent in the wreckage, saving flowers from the floor he had destroyed. He sat beside Ruth's bed and covered his face with both hands. For the first time, Daniel had no plan. Only guilt. He took out his phone and found the number. His thumb hovered over call. Then he locked the screen. Some apologies were too heavy for a call. If you have listened to the story till now, Soul Stories Untold team, thank you from the heart. Just one request: subscribe to our channel for more dramatic and emotional content in the future from us. Let's start again. The next morning, Daniel returned before Nashville woke. The blue door was open. That hurt more than a locked door. Inside, Mia swept glass into a dustpan. A bandage covered one finger. Daniel stopped at the doorway. Daniel said, "I know." Mia said, "You were not supposed to." Daniel said, "I saw the donor file. I know what you did for my mother." Mia rested the broom against the wall. There was no pride in her face, only calm. Mia said, "I did not know she was your mother when I agreed." Daniel said, "That makes what I did worse." Mia looked around the damaged shop. Mia said, "Yes, it does." Daniel said, "I will pay for everything. Repairs, flowers, lost business, anything." Mia shook her head. Mia said, "Money is not the same as making something right." Daniel believed money could end every hard conversation. Now he had never felt poorer. Daniel said, "Then tell me what to do." Mia looked at her grandmother's photograph. Mia said, "Leave this place alone." Daniel said nothing. Then she added, "I helped your mother because she needed help. But what you did was cruel. If you want to fix something, stop trying to erase what my grandmother left me." There was no forgiveness, just truth. Daniel understood that an apology without cost was only performance. By noon, he called his architect. Daniel said, redesign Hayes Landing. The architect said, around the shop. Daniel said, yes. The architect said, that destroys the layout. Daniel said, then design a better one. Lawyers warned him. Investors complained. Daniel listened. Then he said, Willow and Bloom stays. 6 months later, Hayes Landing opened beside the Cumberland River. The towers glittered. Reporters called it unexpectedly human. And in the center of all that glass and steel stood one small flower shop. The blue door was repainted. The sign was restored. The courtyard curved around Willow and Bloom as if the city had made room. Visitors called it brilliant. Daniel never corrected them. Late that afternoon, he brought Ruth to see it. She knew Mia had been her donor. She did not know everything Daniel had done. Inside the shop, Mia arranged yellow tulips. Ruth entered and her face softened. Ruth said, Mia Lawson. Mia came around the counter. Mia said, Mrs. Hayes. Ruth took her hands. Ruth said, thank you feels too small, but it is all I have. Mia answered, it is enough. Then Ruth's eyes moved to the framed photograph near the register. Mia as a little girl beside an elderly woman. Ruth whispered, Clara Lawson. Daniel said, you knew Mia's grandmother? Ruth's face changed as if an old door opened. Ruth said, after your father died, I was 26 and alone. I had you in a stroller and no idea how to survive. The flower shop grew still. Ruth said, one evening I collapsed on a sidewalk not far from here. I had not eaten all day. I was so cold I stopped feeling cold. Mia's eyes filled. Ruth said, a woman found me. She carried you inside first, then came back for me. She gave me soup, wrapped me in a blanket, and let me sit by the heater. Daniel stared at the photo. Ruth said, before I left, she gave me yellow tulips and told me kindness always comes back around. Mia covered her mouth. Mia said, my grandmother told me that story all my life. When I heard your name at the hospital, I recognized it. Daniel felt the truth settle into place. Mia had not simply saved his mother. She had returned a kindness planted before Daniel could remember that same blue door. Mia said, my grandmother said we release the good we do and hope it finds its way back. Ruth cried. Ruth said, then Clara saved me twice. Mia placed the yellow tulips in Ruth's hands. Mia said, maybe she did. Outside, Hayes Landing moved with music and cameras. Inside Willow and Bloom, the silence was full of mercy, memory, and kindness that had survived time. Daniel looked at the towers with his name. They were tall, expensive, admired, everything he had wanted. Then he looked at the small shop at the center of it all. For the first time, he understood the most important thing he had built was not a tower. It was the space he finally chose not to take. Some think power means making the world move for them. But real power may be knowing when to stop, when to step back, and when something small carries a history bigger than ambition. Daniel Hayes spent years believing every place had a price. Mia Lawson taught him some places are held together by things no contract can measure. Memory, sacrifice, mercy, and kindness that waits years before returning. So if this story stays with you, remember this. The good you give may travel farther than your name. It may cross streets, hospitals, generations, and grief. And one day, when nobody expects it, it may come back through the hands of someone standing before the person who needs it most.